Hello, everybody, and welcome to the South Florida Power BI user group. Thank you for making the time in your busy schedule to be here with us. And today we have another fantastic presentation, which is using Python and R, forecasting in Power BI by Pablo Moreno. So if you're out there, you like Python and R, integrating forecasting and Power BI, this is the session to you. So next, also, let us know, where are you located? Just use the live chat, enter your location, and let us know where you are located. So great, fantastic giveaway here today. We have the book Machine Learning in Power BI with R and Python for your one and only Pablo Moreno and Gabriel Gomez. So if you have not done so, remember to enter into the raffle to get the copy of the book here and during our giveaway at the end of this presentation. And we will be doing the drawing at the end of the presentation, as I said, but live. So you can see it, and we'll get you in touch to get a copy of the book. So what is next? Will be Power BI deployment pipelines, our next presentation on February 23rd by Yogendra. And you can register right now by going out to our Meetup website and getting started over there with your registration, this one as well. One more thing is like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you can be reminded and get alerts when we add new videos to the channel. So also support the comment and enter comments. So for today's presentation, as we start here, remember that if you have any questions during the presentation, the live presentation, use the live chat. And use the live chat, all you need to do is be a subscriber and you'll be able to access and enter your questions live. Now, if you're watching us after the presentation has started or completed, better said, you have the comment section below. So you can enter your question. I'll follow up with the speaker so you can get a response. So let's take a, now without further ado, let's get Pablo here with us. Hello, Pablo. Welcome to the South Florida Power BI.
Hello, Adriano, and hello to all the audience. Thank you for having me here. And of course, I'm very grateful for your invitation. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can. And great to hear from you and for you to be here. Quite an honor there. And we are looking forward for this opportunity to learn Python and R forecasting in Power BI.
Okay, we'll see what we can do.
All right. So tell us, where are you located at?
I'm currently based in Panama. However, I'm Spanish myself from Spain. So I moved to Panama back in 18 years ago right now. And I've been working here most of my professional time. I went to live and work to the States in 2018, where I have been. And just 3 months ago, I completed my work and my projects in the United States, and I came back to Panama. So right now, I've been jumping into many places, and I've been in some of the most strange places in the world, I have to say. But right now, I'm living and working here in Panama, in Central America. No Panama in Florida.
I see. You mentioned you stayed here a little bit. Maybe you visit Panama City here in Florida.
I went there. Very nice location also.
Yeah, yes, definitely here. So let's take a look here where the attendees from. So we have from Egypt, Power BI Storytelling, welcome. And Ryan Wade, welcome Ryan from Indianapolis. And we have Gija from Montreal, Canada.
Right.
Welcome, Gija. Dan Johnson, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Welcome, Dan. Hello, friends. And saludos from Seattle, Washington, from Miriam Sosa. Welcome, Miriam. And we have Brent from Eden Prairie, sorry, Minnesota. And Rinaldi. Hey, Marcos, from right here from the backyard of Fort Lauderdale.
Oh,
TikTok. Yes, we have Yogi here from Wilmington. Welcome. Managua, Nicaragua, Fatima.
Nicaragua. Yeah.
Wow. And another fellow from Quincy Falls here.
Okay.
I believe you want to say, correct if I'm wrong, Christian, but I think you mean Quebec, right?
Quebec, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Quite diverse here. We have Central America, North America, representing here, folks. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for making the time to be here with us. And if you are just joining us, remember just to enter your location and support the channel. Drop a comment, very important to help with the YouTube algorithm, along with your like. So back to you here, Pablo. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Uh, wow, has been quite a has been a journey. Yeah. Just giving this long story short, I am a graduated from business and economics back in many years ago, a lot. But I always had a passion for statistics, mathematics, and everything. So in my passion, looking my passion, I was working. I've been working in financial services for over 2 decades. Private equity funds. I've been working with stock exchange, forex trading. I've done so many things, all related to finance and banking services, which is most of the time what I've been doing. So everything was very close to statistics and finance and applied statistics, especially when I was working as a operator of the stock market in some locations in some countries, and maybe call it a middle age crisis. I don't know what to call it. At some point, after doing so many things in business, finance, accounting, auditing, and all of that, I got really bored. I mean, finance was not giving me nothing new. I was not excited. You just mention anything related to finance, investments, or corporate finance, or things like that. I have done it, or if I haven't done it, I've been involved somehow. So, as I said, it was nothing exciting for me, new to learn in finance or experience in finance. I've been from accounting clerk up to a CFO of large multinational organizations in the past. So I have gone through everything, horizontal, vertically, and everything. So as I said, maybe in the middle of my middle age crisis or something, I just wanted to go back to what it makes me happy, which is working with numbers. That's what I love to do. So I found myself nearly 40 years old. I say, how can I go back to statistics or mathematics or something? How can I do that? So at that time, it was and I was just now 6 7 years ago. I wanted to go back to apply statistics or somehow, and I discovered myself in the middle of the explosion of big data in the world. So everybody was desperate looking for the statisticians and people with statistical backgrounds. Okay, so I just decided to update my skills and my knowledge, and I start reading books and papers and documents and blogs, articles involving statistical concepts, and I was seeing things like distributed clusters, network analysis. What the heck is this? And I got panicked, thinking that I got really old-fashioned and just behind the curve. So Okay, I went a little bit crazy, panicking myself, trying to update myself because thinking maybe my statistics that I learned a long time ago was no longer in use or was very obsolete or anything. Well, what I discovered was something very interesting. So the statistics was still the same. So it's still the same. Nothing has changed. The only thing that changed is in the past, I used to use a calculator to do my stuff. Now I need to use a programming language. And I say, what the heck? I am not a programmer. I'm not a software person. I don't come from an IT background. And with the time, to be honest, it was a very bumpy road for me to jump into something that was completely unknown, like system engineering, software development. I learned to code in Python. I started with R as a statistics person. I started with R, and later I went into Python. In the past, all my data could fit into a piece of paper. That was all my data. It's true. Right now, I mean, when I started 8 years ago, my data was no longer fitting in a piece of paper. It was fitting in a database. And I said, what the hell is a database? I mean, I know what is a database. I mean, conceptually, I know what is a database. But I had no idea whatsoever about what was a relational database, a document database, semi-structured data restriction, I mean, all of that. Anyway, so my passion actually drove me through all of that. So because I wanted to go there, but I have to go through all these difficult paths in order to acquire that knowledge. So I started to gain that knowledge, and very quickly, and thanks to my experience working in businesses and finance, I was able to deploy and develop very quickly solutions related to data for business problems, and that was what really helped me very quickly to jump into the data science space, which is a funny name. Data science is the same as statistics that I used to do 20 years back in the time, but now with fancy technological tools. I mean, I'm not going to say that, and they call it that person a data scientist. Call it whatever you want. I mean, we apply statistics to with technology to solve business problems. At least that's what I do. And the market calls me a data scientist. So today, through all that, I am a data scientist. I am working right now as a head of artificial intelligence in a consulting company based in Spain. And the company is based in Spain. However, we have operations in Europe, America, South Africa, and some other places. So that's what I do.
Excellent. That's very interesting. They also see your progression there, and also to come to know that statistics, is still quite very strong. I know that all the principles, whether descriptive or prescriptive, and all of them still very strong, and data science and now becomes part and integrating with different models.
Right.
And then evolves to machine learning and expands to AI and also.
Exactly. And it has been fascinating. I mean, thanks to the evolution of technology and the computing power, we can do things today that was not simply possible to do 50, 60 years ago. I mean, all those developments around artificial neural networks and more optimized algorithms, extreme gradient boost, multiple different families of trees that we have around the decision tree. In the past, we only have very few models that we could really compute and use to make calculations because the mathematics and all the computation power needed behind that was very complex and very intense. So, but right now, thanks to the technology, I mean, we can do a lot more with a lot less, which is what I like. So it's very cool.
Very exciting. So with that, let's check out some Python and R forecasting in Power BI here.
Absolutely. Sure.
All right.
Okay.
It's all you now.
Thank you very much, Adriano. I will take it from here. So as you can see, this is my presentation. I'm a Microsoft MVP since 2019. I'm in the category of data platform. As I said, today I work as a head of artificial intelligence for Sumamos, which is the company that I'm working for right now. I'm also a professor of artificial intelligence at the UNI. UNI is the National Engineering University in one of the Central American countries. I'm also author of the book Machine Learning in Power BI with R and Python. mlbi.io is the website where you can find that book, and that's my LinkedIn, just in case you want to find me. And I have to say that I'm very honored and grateful, and I want to stop for a second just to thanks specifically Mr. Ryan Wade, which is here within the audience. I want to make it public because thanks to him, thanks to his book, which I purchased a while ago, very after it was released, I got inspired to do my own book. That's the reality. That's a fact. So I want to thank Ryan for being here, and I feel really honored that he, as well as the rest of the audience, is attending to my presentation. Okay. With that said, let me give you some background. Why Power BI? Why R and Python into Power BI? Let me just give you some background into all this. This is the usual usage or the usual utilization of Power BI. Okay, so what you're seeing here is a portion of the chart that is considered or is describing the analytics maturity model for data analysis. Okay, so this is a relationship between maturity, in other words, time, and productivity or value added. So we start from the very basic, most elemental item in analytics, which is raw data, and that raw data is evolving as long as analytics maturity is evolving as well. And we have a first stage until all the reports has been created and aggregated and everything, just to consolidate and aggregate data in order to understand a very fundamental question: what happened in the past, obviously. So every time that we produced a sales report or any other kind of report, we normally can see in any organization. The main purpose of that report being issued is just to answer one fundamental question: what happened? So when that reporting aspect gets matured and gets more consolidated, obviously we start identifying patterns, maybe historical patterns, or any other kind of patterns within the data. And we enter into the next evolution of the maturity model, which is the business intelligence. The fundamental question of business intelligence, the fundamental question that business intelligence is always trying to answer is why it happened. And when I say why it happened, is that why has to be answered with data. In other words, I like to describe it like data answering questions of all the data, basically. That's what that's. Well, this is actually the space where Power BI is widely used, widely known it's as a reporting or business intelligence tool. We can do either reporting or business intelligence, extracting and slicing and dicing data, extracting insights, and some other things. And that's okay, and that is okay. But when we add two superpowers to Power BI, which I like to call, those two superpowers are R and Python, we can do furthermore. We can evolve into the analytics maturity process and jump from business intelligence in order to understand why things happened into what can happen in the future, what is possible to happen, what could be the optimal scenario in the future, understanding that all those historical patterns has been identified, has been measured, and of course it can be extrapolated in the future. We are not predicting the future. I mean, nobody can exactly predict the future. We can estimate what can happen in the future, assuming that historical conditions are going to remain. And we know for a fact that this is not true. But what's the purpose of making any kind of forecasting or prediction if the historical conditions are not going to remain in the future? Well, very simple. It's just understanding what is the possible outcome, what is the possible results, what is the scenario analysis that we can estimate in the future, assuming that historical conditions are going to remain. So that's, with that said and with that in mind, the main focus, the main purpose of doing forecasting prediction as a statistical concept, we can estimate the value of a future event. Is just the purpose of that is just taking actions today, making decisions today that can influence the state of the future, basically. So, in other words, I'm just taking away all the theory. I'm not going to teach you statistics. That's very boring. Um, so if we know that what is going to be the trend of our revenues or sales, for example, or inventories, or days delayed or days delivered of our merchandise, etc., 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 whatever we want to estimate or forecast in the future, if we know that, we can take actions today in order to prevent future scenarios or future situations. So if I know how much, how will be the trends of my revenues and my sales over the next, say, 6 months, I can start deciding today if I need to hire more salespeople, more support people. I should invest in more inventory or not. I should invest more in marketing or not. Why not? All of that together. So I can decide today what to do if I have a vision, a trend, or what's going to happen in the future. So that's the main purpose of this. So that's why R and Python are very good tools, are very good languages, programming languages, to be incorporated into our Power BI analysis, so we can be able to do forecasting and machine learning. Of course, we can do machine learning, real machine learning. When I say real machine learning, is data that gets refreshed constantly, and a model, Python or R model, gets trained or retrained with new data constantly in order to produce more accurate results going forward. Okay, now let's understand a little bit more how Power BI works with R and Python. Okay, because we need to keep in mind certain considerations. Okay, so how does Power BI works with R and Python? Okay, let's start with R and Python. I'm not going to enter into that silly discussion about R versus Python, which one is best, which one is worse. I mean, that's silly. Both are great languages, both have different purposes, and both have some commonalities, and both has their differences. In my experience, and this is my experience, what I'm saying here, maybe perhaps any of you have a different vision, a different opinion on this, perfectly acceptable. But in my experience, if you come from a business background, non-IT background at all, R could be a good starting point for you to start learning how to code. Okay, can you start from zero on Python? Absolutely, yes. I mean, you can, of course. But if you come like me, with from an Excel background, highly Excel intensive base, R could be maybe a better way to start into the programming world. Okay. So R, in essence, is a simple, easy, flexible language. It's very easy to understand and very easy to write, very quickly to get. It's very fast and very light, because R is a language that was invented by statisticians for statisticians. This is R, okay? Python, in contrast, is a language more complex. It has another kind of paradigm in terms of as a programming language. It's an object-oriented language. R is a functional language. I'm not going to start describing what's the differences between those two, etc., etc. But in essence, Python is more versatile, and Python was invented by engineers for engineers. Can they do? Can you do data science and data analytics and statistical inference with Python? Of course you can, and you can do many more things. Okay. You can develop websites, you can develop desktop applications, big data applications, etc., etc. With R, you cannot do so many things as you can with Python. So which one is best? Which one is worse? They have both different purposes. So both of them are good languages in their purpose. Okay. So this is the pros and the cons that I want to highlight. Maybe, as I said, maybe you disagree with me. That's totally fine. I'm not gonna enter into that discussion. I personally like to use, and I think it's very well recommended, to use R for importing and transforming data. That's very cool. I have to say that there are certain packages, Tidyverse package, etc., are very good for import and transforming data. They're all about data wrangling and everything. You can do things in with R and with Python as well into Power Query that you cannot easily do with Power Query. So you can do also advanced visualization with R. I think, in my opinion, R is a little bit better or more flexible than Python. What you can do in R in 3 lines of code, you maybe need 20, 30 lines of code with Python. So I like simplicity. That's as simple as that. It's very good for statistical analysis. I personally like text analysis and NLP with R. You can perfectly do it with Python. Of course you can. But I think R is very well suited for that type of analysis. Now, in contrast, Python is very nice for advanced analytics, machine learning, and of course, the biggest strength of Python, that's why Python is so popular today, is its capability to be integrated with other tools, or other applications, etc. Something that R is very limited on. Okay. So that's the pros and the cons that, in my opinion, and again, I know people would have different opinions on this, but this is my opinion on specifically R and Python. Now, keeping this in mind, some considerations about when we work with either R or Python into Power BI. You can run scripts in Power BI about R or Python. So, however, by default, all the scripts has a timeout execution up to 5 minutes. So even if your script is well done, it has no bugs, no errors, no mistakes, no issues, etc. If it's gonna take very long, more than 5 minutes, Power BI is gonna stop it and it's not gonna be executed in full. Okay. There are 2 different ways where we can insert scripts, both in Python and R, in Power BI. One in what I like to call the Power BI desktop, and 2 in Power Query. We know that if we work with Power BI, we know that there are 2 different environments into the same tool. So Power BI desktop, let's call it the desktop for now, is where you develop all the visualizations, analytics, etc. So you can insert a script in the desktop. However, the output of that script, it must be a visual object. And when I say a visual object, it has to be, I mean, a graphic, a chart, or something like that. Okay. So the visualization, all visualizations, due to a performance issue, and this is something that we cannot change, the visualization is always limited to 150,000 rows, no more than that, because using those languages into Power BI, just keep in mind that you're not using the language from the engine itself. So Power BI is like a wrapper around those 2 languages, R and Python. Therefore, there is some limitations in terms of and some constraints just to preserve and prevent a good performance of Power BI as a tool itself. So all visualizations, either for R or Python, are limited to 150,000 rows. We call it in the little wall here in the Power BI wall, we call it the 150K limits. So anyway, so freakies like me, we usually call things like that. Anyway, so the other things that maybe we know that is, so maybe if you work with Power BI, you know that visuals created in scripts, either R or Python, are subject to the filter context. So you can slice and dice, and they move, and they can be cross-filtered by other visuals, slicers, filters, etc., that you can put into the desktop. However, the filter context doesn't work in the inverse direction. So if you click on a point in the visual, that is not going to filter the rest of the objects, the visual objects, into the report. It is important. In the past, was very critical, this point, the point number 5 that I'm going to mention here. Right now, everything has been improved in that way, but it's always a good practice to keep always column names without special characters, or without spaces. It's very important. Do not put, for example, as I see many times in sales report, total sales dollar. No, don't remove that dollar, because that can create some issues, because there are many of those special symbols like dollar sign, like pound sign, like percent sign. All of those has a specific functions sometimes in either R and Python. Okay, so that's on the visualization side. On the Power Query side, in the other hand, we have two entry points for code, either for R or Python. We can enter code into the get data section, which is Power Query, even though you can see that the get data here in the desktop. Okay, in here we can insert code, and we can insert any type of code, and even I've been using it with multiple packages, not even supported by macros, but it works perfectly fine. However, the resulting output of the code, it has to be a data frame object or equivalent. That means that you have to produce the end result of the code has to produce a data table. Okay, in data science, a data table with a very specific feature is called a data frame, and it has very specific features and a very specific architecture. Okay. When you import data from the get data, there is no restrictions on data frame naming or anything like that. But something that I haven't mentioned here is every data set or every object containing data, columns, tables, whatever you want to bring to the table to do visualization or anything, it has by default the name of data set, even if it's called your table name or whatever it is, doesn't matter. It's always called a data set, except in get data. When you are using get data, it's not called a data set. It's called whatever you want to call it, whatever the name comes with in the script. Okay. So the other point, or the other entry point for scripts in Power Query, is on the transform tab in Power Query. And that has the limitation of every data set or every query or every table name is going to be replaced by data set. Okay, so be careful, especially if you're going to be reusing any code. Okay, and it's important to understand that, again, the column names has to be, or it's a good practice that column names which should not contain any special characters nor any space between words. And something important is Power Query. When you're using the scripts to produce any output, be careful when you are using query merge or any other, when you're doing some transformation with multiple queries or multiple tables in Power Query, and the result query, you issue a script, because that is not going to be allowed. So I mean, there are certain moments in which it is allowed, but in normal query merge, I'm not going to enter into the details on that, but it's not allowed the query merge. Okay, we'll go into that in a minute. Finally, and not to be boring, okay, licensing. This is something important. Not many people knows about this. You can use R and Python in Power BI desktop for free, no problem at all. No problem at all. I mean, without any license. No, you don't need pro license, enterprise license, or premium license, no, at all. Just the basic free license for your Power BI desktop is good enough to start doing your either visualization or transformation or machine learning in Power Query or desktop for visualization. Now, the problem comes when you are going to push the report that contains any kind of script, and you're going to push it to the service. That's another story. When you're pushing the Power BI to the service, if you're creating a visualization, you need a pro license or higher. It means that you have to pay to allow the visual to render in the service, only in the service. If you're working on the desktop, no problem at all. You don't need any license at all. This is only for visualization. You need a pro license or higher. However, if you're rendering or if you're executing any script in Power Query, either if it's from get data or transform data, You don't need any license. It's totally free. Okay, you don't need any license. Now, the only caveat here is if you're running any script, R or Python in Power Query, okay, to make it work, you need a gateway in personal mode. The reason for that is because the Power BI push to the service is going to run the script from your local machine where your R or Python engine is installed. Okay, and then the result of the output of that code is going to come back to the Power BI in the service. Okay, it doesn't allow enterprise gateways or anything like that, and it has some considerations because of that. Okay, so now that we have gone through all the basics of how R and Python works in Power BI, let me show you very little some of the quick examples of what you can do with R and Python in Power BI. I think that everybody, or mostly everybody, knows about visualization. Okay, so you can do, this is some visualizations in R. As you can see here, this is all a very simple correlation matrix combining both continuous and categorical values. The way to do it is just simply, it's a simple R script, which I'm going to access here. So I build a data frame. A data frame is just is no more than selecting several columns from the visualization. Let me expand this out a little bit. So when you see here, I select the R visual, which is this icon here, and then I bring my columns, all my columns that I want into the visual, and those columns create my data frame. Okay, my data frame, which is called data set, and we cannot change this in here. We can change it later if we want to. Okay, but this data set is coming with that name by default. Okay, so all this data frame is created with all the columns that I select. Now, this is just two very simple lines of code in R. So that's why I say R is very good for visualization. Which is just I call the library, and then I just produce the visual object, which is the code to create the visualization. So this visualization ggpairs is based on where is my data in this data set. It's called data set, which is this name here, and then I select the aesthetics using the ggplot2 package that is inserted or is included into ggli. Okay, so I just put, okay, just separate by color all the species, which is one of the columns that you can see here. Okay, when I render, when I execute this code, it produces this visualization. This visualization today is not possible with Power BI. For example, I cannot create a correlation matrix like this in Power BI, and that gives me a lot of insights that in normal condition I cannot get so easily with Power BI. So that's why using R or Python is very powerful into Power BI. You can do the same. I mean, this is another example. This is a scatter chart where you have multi-correlation or multi-line or multi-regression lines here, parabolic lines, and also with sine, with two bar side charts. Two side bar chart. I said that in the wrong way. Just to see the density of the points where are there around it. So this again is giving me insights that I shouldn't be able to see with Power BI in normal conditions. This code is a little bit longer, okay, but as you can see, it's only I just call the two libraries. I just bring the code for one for the main chart of the data point, the scatter chart, and then I activate the marginals. The marginal is a histogram. I can fill it with the color I want, and then I just populate or just execute the chart. Okay, I run the code here, and the result of the code is this chart here. That is not possible today, for example, with Power BI, and it gives me insights where, for example, where are the points more concentrated, where are the trends, individual trends for each category, etc. Something that is not possible today with Power BI. This is on R, but you can do exactly the same with Python. Exactly the same, or different charts if you want to. With other type of visuals. So if and let me show you again here. This is a simple chart again, more or less similar to the previous one. This is the equivalent correlation per plot, as you can see here. This is the code for that, for this one, and the same density plots like this one here for these pieces of code. And as you can see, the code is slightly different. And here, as you can see, I'm renaming dataset to the F. Okay, I personally like short names. When you are typing a lot, believe me, short names is always helpful. So, and I can reuse this code to any other way. So, okay. So this is a very simple, very simple example. But this is happening again on the desktop to create visuals. And if I want to render those visuals in Power BI service, I need Power BI Pro license or higher. Okay. Now I'm going to show you what you can do when you run the code in Power Query. And this is very cool. Okay, let me just show you. This is a time series. This is coming from, let me show you, from a table called sales. Okay, let's go to Power Query. Okay, this is a forecast analysis. And what I'm doing here, what I'm using here is just a native line chart visual in Power BI. Okay, I'm not using any fancy chart made in R or Python. This is a simple line chart. How to get into this visual? I have more samples to show you, so I hope that you can understand what you can do with this. Let's go back to Power Query. So this is where my data is right now. So this is the table. Okay, this is the table. Where is my source? My source is just a CSV file. Okay, well, this is in Spanish, but anyways, this is you're gonna see. So I promote the headers. This is the first step. So I have a date column and an income column. Okay, after doing some transformation, okay, I just reformatted the date into an ISO format, which is the most optimal format for working with R or Python. In this case, I'm using R. Okay. And the income, I'm using just a numeric format, which is okay. Just this is very important to keep the format of the columns that you're going to use in your models. I haven't mentioned this, but keeping the format is extremely important to make it right. Okay, so in this particular case, just let me open the script. I'm inserting a script in R, so I'm not going to run it because it's going to take a couple of minutes maybe. So you can once you have all your data frame or your query already formatted and prepared. If you go to Transform tab here on the top, okay, right at the very end, you have the two options to enter a script in R or a script in Python, okay? In this particular case, I'm using R, okay, just to create and generate forecasts. Actually, let me show you a little bit. Let me show you, let's go back here. I'm gonna sort it. I have data from July 1st, 2015. Okay, let's put it descending. Yes, let's start instead of start. I'm not going to. I hope I'm not gonna. I'm gonna stop this. I don't want to run this. Oh, here it is. Here it is. I have, and the last date is September 9th, 2020. Okay, that's my latest. That's my latest date here. Okay, I'm gonna delete this. Yes, delete. So after I have done everything, my data frame is prepared and everything, I am going to run a code in R, and I'm going to use a forecast. Let me show you. I'm going to double click. Here it is. And let me just open the magnifier. In here, I'm using a forecast using the library Prophet. Okay. And what I'm doing is just using the library Prophet is creating a forecast model. I'm creating a forecast first. I invoke the algorithm, which is going to make the model. Okay, and this is the algorithm stored in the variable m. And I'm going to forecast the next 90 days ahead of the last day, September 9th, 2020. Okay, and I want to include the historical data because I can produce only those future 90 points, or I can insert or attach the future 90 points that I'm forecasting with the historical data. Okay. Finally, I create a data frame. Okay, I create a data frame, which is a table, no longer a table, which I call a prediction, and I run and execute the class predict, which is a common class in R specifically, or also Python as well. But in this case, it's R, where I'm adding the future, the 90 points, on top of the historical points. Okay, that's all I'm doing. 3 simple lines of code plus the library invoke. 3 lines of code. Here is the result. The result, if I'm having the two tables, one including only the 90 points and the other one including everything, and I select the prediction, I expand the table, and this is the result. Okay, this is my first data points, July 1st, 2015, and I should be able to see 90 days ahead of September 9th, 2020. Okay, and I have a bunch of other calculations because the package profit gives me a lot of other things, which I'm not going to enter into the details right now. Let's see the details. Okay, and this is the historical data set, the historical points, and we said that we are going into September 9, 2020. That was my last point. Okay, here is September 13, September 5th, more or less. Here it is. This was my last historical point. We set 90 days ahead. And there you go. Last day, January 31st, 2021. So I'm forecasting 90 days ahead of September 9th. Okay. So, and this is a simple calculation that you can do here, inserting a model like Prophet, a forecast, a package like Prophet into Power Query. The beautiful thing about that is that because the script is executed in Power Query, if I push this to the service, I don't need any license, and I still can see my forecast. Without any license. Obviously, I need to use a personal mode gateway, but that's all. Okay, if I do my what I have to do just to prevent my data properly safe and everything and secure, no problem at all. Let's do the same thing or something similar. I did an anomaly detection with using Python in Power Query. In this case, I'm sourcing data from Yahoo Finance, and I source data for Microsoft, the stock exchange in Microsoft, and I wanted to create an anomaly detection where I'm going to identify when the volume of shares trade per day was anomaly high or anomaly low, considering in that day not only the volume but also the gap between the max and the minimum value of the share, the opening and the close of the value of the share. Okay, that can be done. Again, as you can see, this is all native visuals. This is a line chart here. This is a bar chart here in Power BI. Native, nothing fancy. No crazy visualization in Python or R. This is all done in Power Query. I'm flagging in Power Query when any data point, what happened in one day was an anomaly or not. Okay, and let me show you here how it looks like. So this is the standard columns that you can scrap from Yahoo Finance. It's not a secret. I mean, you can go to Yahoo Finance. Here it is, Yahoo Finance. This is Microsoft. Here it is. Okay, and this is all the columns. You can scrape this very easily with Power BI. Okay, you have the date, the open value, the open value of the share. This is actually for yesterday. You have the high, the price, the low price, the close, adjusted close, and the volume, the number of shares, the volume of shares that was traded that day. Okay, 46.4 million shares yesterday. Okay, this is so no secret on that. So I wanted to see which day was something anomaly, either by volume, by the gap in the size of the share, and you can extend this analysis to any other type of analysis where you can create where you want to create an anomaly. So that is done in Power Query here. So if I go to Power Query, let's go to the Microsoft table. Let me show you exactly. I'm not going to refresh because I did this a while ago, actually for the book itself. So. And as you can see here, I'm sourcing this directly from the Yahoo Finance site. Okay. So, and after I have done and prepared all my columns and everything, I have done all my analysis, I run the Python script. Okay, let me show you the Python script a little bit. And here it is. Two very simple and very sad lines of code. I'm using the PyCaret package in Python, which is very good, very powerful, very easy to work with, and it simplifies a hell of a lot of work, a lot of code. And all I'm doing is I'm getting outliers, from my dataset. In this case, I'm using an isolation forest model, which is very powerful, and I want to flag every transaction that is 10% outside of the normality, considering all variables that I have per day: the date, the price, open, close, and the volume. So all that. And I want this, again, on top, to be calculated on top of my data set. So the result of the model is going to be inserted as a calculated column, into my data set. Okay, that's how it goes. So I'm going to cancel this. When I expand my table, here is my table, and now let me show you. This is the new column that brings the isolation forest model into my data set. Okay, so into my queries. And as you can see, 0 means it's a normal day, it's a normal transaction. 1 means it is anomaly. It is an anomaly transaction, anomaly day. The result of this, I can flag it into my, not now, thank you. And the result of this is I can flag it here, which day was anomaly or which day was not an anomaly. Okay, and so I can see this. It gives me some good insights. Okay, that's one thing. And I have one last thing to show you, which in my opinion is the most important thing. Why it's important to run forecast in Power Query. This is done with Python. Okay, this is done in Python. This is a forecast. Again, this is I just did this today, early in the morning. We have here again. I just sourced again the Microsoft Stock Exchange. This is for the last 2 years. So my first date was February 1st, 2019, until January 31st, 2022, which is yesterday. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a forecast. Okay, what's the forecast of the stock share of the stock value in the next, I think, was 60 days, I believe, in April 1st. Okay, 60 days. Okay, so this dark blue line that you see here is actually the forecast. And again, as you can see, I'm using a line chart. Because all this was done in Power Query. And the model also gives me what is called the interval of confidence, which the most in a probability of 90%. So with 90% probability, for example, that's how this can be interpreted. In February 22nd, I don't know if this is going to be true or not, and I don't trade with shares. I used to do it, but not now. With 90% probability, the value of the share should be between 284 and $331, more or less. 90% probability. Being the middle point of that, or the forecast point, which is the middle between those two, $331. $308. Okay, that's how this can be interpreted. It can be higher, it can be lower. I'm just telling you, based on the historical conditions, if the historical condition remains, with 90% probability, should be or can be between those two values, 331 or 284. Okay, so this again, I'm going to show you this very quickly. This is done with Python again, and in here I am using the module. Let me show you. Here it is. I'm using the module of time series again for PyCaret, and the PyCaret has a time series model which is very good. It's still in beta version, so they are improving it. The model gets trained with the historical data and produces the output here. And I'm forecasting the next 60 days ahead of time. Okay, so, and I'm using here an auto-ARIMA model. I'm creating an alpha. Alpha is the interval of confidence of 90%, so the alpha is 10%. and I want to return the prediction intervals, the maximum and the minimum interval forecast. I'm creating a data frame, and then I'm creating my table where I'm storing my data frame. Okay, so that's how it goes. So all I'm doing is, that creates this is my 60-day forecast. All I'm doing after creating the 60 days, I'm just doing a couple of transformation, which I'm not going to enter into the detail right now. And what I do is I append the historical data with the forecast data into one table. That's all I'm doing. So, and this is the result date, the result table. Append this appended one. I didn't want to change the name because I want to see that this is appended. Okay, and it has here all the historical data and the forecasted data into the model. The beauty of this, of having this forecast into the data model and stored in Power Query into the data model, is something which I think is very cool. You can actually run DAX code on top of your forecast. Imagine that if you want to see what I mean, this line here, I'm combining this in this chart. Again, this is a line chart. This is a line chart, okay? So in this chart, I'm combining both historical and forecasting data. And I can run a DAX code where I'm calculating, for example, the standard moving average of 60 days for the entire series. And I can see, well, it's going to be the trend or the expected trend in the future of those 60 days, for example. So I'm calculating the DAX using my forecast data into my model. And not only that, because it is in my model, I can do a time intelligence analysis based on that. So I can see in the future how much was the year-over-year variance of that day a year ago. So that day a year ago was expected to be to be increased 24%. So 24% is the expected growth from the value of the share in April 1st, 2022 versus April 1st, 2021. Isn't it cool? I mean, I love it. I mean, I love it. I call it this, adding intelligence on top of the forecast. That's all what I'm doing. And because, and let me tell you, it's something even more, because the model, the forecast is into Power Query. You can do cool things. You can actually create parameters. Let me just add a new parameter here. I'm going to call this parameter, for example, days. Okay, so enter days to forecast. Okay, let me just show you. This has to be a text. So current value is 60. Okay, fine. This is my Power Query parameter. Now I'm going to go to the forecast. I'm going to insert this parameter into the Python script. Okay, so I can do dynamic calculation on that. Something very cool that it takes a lot of time and effort and coding in Python just to do this more dynamically. So I'm going to enter this. I'm going to the advanced editor of my forecast, and I'm going to locate, here it is, FH. Oh, come on. FH, here it is. Okay. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to add the double quote, double ampersand, sorry, double ampersand, and inside I'm going to put the value of my parameter, days. Okay. Click done. Okay. I hope this is not going to take very long. Close and apply. No changes here because obviously let me just apply all the changes. Let's wait for a couple of, I hope it's not going to take too much time because when I'm sharing screen, it's taking usually longer. But if you know a little bit about Power BI, I think that you can figure out what I'm about to do right now. Hold on a second. Let's wait for this to complete refreshing. So I'm inserting just the parameter into the Python code.
Hello, everybody, and can everybody hear me? Yes. Just hang on for a few minutes. I think we got disconnected here, but and we'll be following up and checking with Pablo in just a few minutes. I hope you all have been enjoying it, the presentation. Very exciting here as he's using Python and R to do the forecasting inside Power BI and leveraging also the PyCaret library. So just hang on a few minutes here. We'll be right back with you. All right. Hello, everybody. Getting in touch here with Pablo. Give us just a couple more minutes. Thank you. All right, folks, get ready. Give just a few more minutes. We have been able to connect to Pablo here. He's going to be back in line in just a few minutes here. And we can get back to some very exciting and insightful presentation. All right. All right. In the meantime, folks, remember, we'll be doing the giveaway today at the end of this presentation here, the machine learning in Power BI with R and Python from Pablo Moreno and Gabriel Gomez. You can see the quality of the knowledge is being shared with you in the presentation, and in the book you get even more of it. All right, so Pablo is ready. Let's give it a try here, folks. And one more thing, folks, remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell. Hello, Pablo. Can you
Hey,
hear me?
yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes, we are.
Apologies. This is what happens when it's live.
Absolutely. It's part of it. It's part of it.
Yeah,
So, folks, I hope that you all got your additional water, coffee, tea, and or your beverage of preference, because we are back here with Pablo. All right, without further ado, let's get ramble. Are you ready, Pablo?
I am. Yes.
All right, saw you folks. Thank you very much for your patience. We're going to continue here with Pablo, and apologies here for the technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Have a great one there, Pablo.
Okay.
All right.
I am going to close a bunch of things that I have that I have open. So I'm gonna make sure that it's not using too many resources just in case. Okay, so let me just switch off from
All right.
this.
The meantime, does everybody can see and hear us? Just drop a message real quick here on the comments, please. On the live chat, better said.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. So okay, so I'm gonna check this out. So good, cancel. No, there you go. Okay, so as you can see, what I was doing last, I don't know in which moment everything gets really gone, but what I did was I created a dynamic parameter with the value 60, which is the days that we are forecasting ahead. Okay, so because it's now a dynamic parameter, nothing has changed, and it's still predicting or forecasting the time series until April 1st. Okay, however, this is the funny part, because we have the dynamic parameter. I can now invoke the parameter here, which is not, oh, it was not saved. Okay. Not remove files. Very good. Okay, so let's just save this. I'm gonna take the risk. Why not? Okay, let's create it again. Yeah, it didn't save the parameter. So I'm gonna create a new parameter. So this parameter is going to be called days. Enter days to forecast, and it's going to be text, and the current value is 60. So click OK. I'm going to my table forecast that contains the Python script. I'm going to open the advanced editor. I will search where I'm indicating the 60-day forecast in the model, which is here. Remove it, and I'm going to insert the dynamic parameter, hoping that it's not going to fail right now. So I'm going to invoke this is my parameter into my Power Query script that contains the Python script as well. Click done. Hopefully this is not going to break. Okay, so close and apply, and let it go. So perhaps, unfortunately, this is going to take a few minutes because it's going to be slower as I'm sharing screen, using audio and all that. I try to close as much applications as I could just to keep the memory available to run it. This is rerunning the entire model again through the historical data, recalculating now that I changed one little thing into the script. So I hope this is going to work fine. It was working fine early today. I tried this in the morning and it was working really well. So let's hope that this is going to work right now too. Okay, so let's give it a couple of minutes, hopefully, because I want you to see what you can do now that we have the forecast into our model, and of course how you can manipulate externally the Python code, Python or R. I'm using Python in this case, but you can manipulate externally the code and create multiple parameters to run the script, okay? And even alter the visualization that contains the forecast. So let's see. Hopefully, it won't take too much. Oh, the problem is read. Oh, I know what is happening. He's reading again the source from the website. That's why it's taking so long. Oh no, I think I stopped the refresh on the source table. Okay, that's fine. This is normal. It's gonna take a while. So
All right, Pablo. So, like you're saying, so right now sounds like you got it's retrieving the data, applying the model, then processing it.
yes,
And,
yes, and I created a dynamic parameter to calculate the days to forecast ahead, 60 days. The idea is when you create a parameter, because it's a Power Query parameter, it's an M parameter, or M language parameter, you can actually combine the M language into, some of that, not all of that, but you can combine the M language into R or Python scripts, and you can manipulate it like this. So the idea of having the parameter is you can call the parameter from Power BI desktop, from the desktop, and changing the parameter, you can change also the output of the model. Therefore, it's going to dynamically and automatically change the forecast in the visual, because all of that is tied out. It's all tied up. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do. Hopefully, if my machine allows me to do it, but
yeah.
it was working. It was working today. So let's see. So Adriano, if you want to proceed with the session or something while we're seeing this being refreshed, up to you.
No, it's cool. We can just talk a little bit here so everybody can also get some background here. On this one here, are you also using the PyCaret library as part of it,
Yep.
or how's it working?
In this particular case, I'm using the PyCaret library, but the module, a specific module for time series. I use also PyCaret, but I mean, even though if it's PyCaret, it works perfectly fine, and I used it before with scikit-learn, with NumPy, with Pandas, and many other libraries, Numba and SciPy, and so on, many others. So, but in this case, I'm using PyCaret because it simplifies a lot the pipeline for all the code needed for any machine learning project, including working in in Power BI. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So that's a common thing you see, folks. Remember also your data sets, the columns you're bringing in. Are those also factors to the processing time and everything?
Yep. Yeah, very important. I mean, the more columns that you use, the more horizontal your data frame is, or your table is, the longer and the higher memory and resources is going to be needed. Therefore, it's going to slow the whole process down. And remember, when you're using Python or R scripts into Power BI, remember that both Python and R are outside their normal environment. You're bringing it into the Power BI environment. So Power BI is a capsule, is a container that holds those two languages. So what happens is when you execute any language, any script in Power BI, either for visuals or in Power Query, the script has to go to your local machine where your language is installed, get executed there, and the result has to come back to Power BI. So that's why it's taking longer. That back and forth and back is actually adding extra time in the execution. That's the reason why the timeout by default in Power BI is 5 minutes. Even though your code is perfect, it has no problems. It has a timeout of 5 minutes. I think we are coming. Okay, we're waiting for Python. So it was
All right,
loading the data. Yeah, let's see.
we got a question here with from Yogi. All right,
Yeah.
Yogi would like to know how to use pre-trained model.
Yes, I was saying pre-trained models can be used both in R and Python. I actually have blogs talking about that, how to use pre-trained models both in R and Python in Power BI. I mean, if it's an R, you just add an RDS file, which is where the extension of the file where a pre-trained model is done. Or if it's a Python, you can use a Gibel or a pickle file, a Gibel file or pickle file. I use normally pickle files, and just import the pickle library and the scikit-learn, and just import the model in Power Query. Apply the model on top of your data table, and that produces the output, which is the forecast or the prediction that you want to use. So.
Outstanding. All right, that does answer the question there. Thank you very much.
No problem.
And you said that you import libraries. Does Power BI also? It means that Power BI offer the capability to import libraries.
Yes, but I don't recommend to use importing a library from Power BI. I don't recommend it. You can do it sometimes, and especially in the newer versions. Well, for a couple of years ago, when you're running a code and a script in R or Python, and you're missing a library that is not installed in your system, and Power BI detected, it actually pops you up a message that say this install this library, and you can install it directly from Power BI. But I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that because again, you're adding a lot of extra time going through Power BI channel through Power BI tunnel to install the library. So my suggestion is to always install the libraries in R if you are using R, or Python if you're using Python, in each distribution, whether if it's R Studio or Jupyter Notebook or Anaconda or any other. So install packages always outside Power BI.
kind of the quote unquote native way, right? Would be the
Yes,
case
make it
here.
the
Yeah,
native way. Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
And very great tip there, folks. On how to approach and install. Also, what happens when you get the error, kind of problems you have. All right, here we are.
Okay.
So let me
60
lead you through
days.
it.
I mean, all this time waiting for 60 days. Let's see if I can change. So remember, let's hope that it's gonna work. 60 days. The price or estimated price for 60 days is $319. April 1st. Okay, so let's say that I don't want to see now 60 days. I want to see 90 days. So I go here to edit parameters, and I'm gonna change this 60 for 90. Okay, I'm gonna click OK, apply change. I'm gonna run the code, yes, and let's see how it goes. Hopefully this is not going to break. Remember that we are seeing the last date, April 1st, 2022. That was the last date of the forecast. So if nothing goes wrong, I should add 30 days more to my forecast, 90 days. So let's see how it goes. And obviously this chart, this little table, will be updated as well, hopefully. Let's see. So Adriano, if you want to continue talking, man, because it's going to take a couple of minutes of refreshing. So as you can see, I'm the most informed person in the planet, because every time I see any script running and I'm waiting, oh my goodness, I see all the news from Spain, from Panama, from United States. I see what's going on here, what's going on there. So I'm the most informed person in the planet Earth, I believe. I don't know. I'm just joking, obviously. So what I did was, as I said, I just changed the parameter from here without the need of going to Power Query. It was 60-day forecast. Now I change it to 90-day forecast because it's a new value. Is rerunning the model again on top of the historical data. And of course, the append query that is appending the new 90 days is being evaluated and incorporated into the historical data. So if everything goes fine, and I hope it does, that could be the end of the presentation. So now I can prove that you can manipulate the code from outside of Power Query environments, at least. Which for analysis is very nice, because
Very interesting here, as you said, we observed you with the Power BI desktop, leverage R and Python. Also, you showed the use of Power Query, through the processes here. Now we're looking at parameterization as well.
I have several blogs posted on LinkedIn talking a lot about how to use and how to work with R and Python into Power BI outside of the usual visualization and all that. So especially focus on Power Query, how to run it on Power Query, and how to do many solutions incorporating pre-trained models also, and some other things, how to create a web-like app for real-time prediction in Power BI, so you can imitate a web app using Power BI, so to do dynamic predictions and real-time prediction. And all of that is, I made blogs about all of that in my LinkedIn. So if you go to my LinkedIn and you can see my articles, there is a lot of materials out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I see here. Oops. Just seconds here. As we're waiting here, let me share with you all here. This part here. That's
oh yes, that's
that's
a presentation of the book. Yes, the content.
Yeah.
Right. That was a long time ago. Before we launched it, we wanted to share with the community what we were planning to incorporate, just to get some feedback from the community, to see which type of content they wanted to see in the book. So we launched an event just to hear from the community. If we do a machine learning in Power BI with an Python book, what do they want to see? So we got feedback, some of them very good actually, and we incorporated things that we never thought about it before. So, and there are many things that we couldn't. Otherwise, instead of a book, we will have an entire library, but it was not. That was not the idea.
I see. And it's very cool here too, and talking about the objectives and the
Yep.
fundamentals, the reason for this book. And folks, remember, just hope you all had an opportunity to enter your information on the form that we had there before. And if you didn't have to, what we're gonna do here, let's see here at the end of this presentation, and potentially you can, if you miss it, you can use the comment section below, enter your name. I would be doing a drawing maybe on the next presentation for one more book. All right, on February 23rd. So between now and then, just drop a comment here. Drop a comment in the presentation. We'll take you in there and add you to the drawing on next time on the 23rd, when we're going to have the next session. For today, we already have a list of people here as well, and you can check it out, the book itself, talking about the fundamentals, reasons for the book, advance the topics, machine learning integration with Python, advanced analytics, or some fantastic information here you're all going to like a lot. And this is, I got this information here from Pablo's site. I'm sorry,
LinkedIn.
page. That's why I went over here. If you go back here, we'll go back in a minute. Oh. Go back. We go to LinkedIn. It's happening again. And we go Pablo. And then we will take a look at his posts. Right here. So it's
Right.
this one here that
Yeah.
we were looking at. You can see different things, and take a look at some other great information.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, let's get back here. How we are looking here. The information, as you can see, is still processing here.
It usually
That's
goes
part of it.
faster, but because, as I said, I'm sharing screen and using audio here from my system. It's taking a lot of resources, but it goes faster. So don't I don't want the people to be desperate, thinking, oh, this is too slow. No, it's not that slow. I'm using a ton of resources right now. So, but
Yeah,
it's very useful.
I understand that. And folks, in the meantime, also a brief ad here. Also, remember, take a minute to like, subscribe. Oops. There we go. Like, subscribe, and click on the bell so we can keep it up with all the great information that we keep sharing here, bringing up some great videos to you all.
This reflection is taking longer, so if you want to
Yeah.
continue with the session, so we can let you know. I can let you know when this is completed, so we can come back here just to view the results.
All right, I will need kind of a minute to put it together here, the drawing as well. So let me see if I
Mm-hmm.
can get that going. And So can you tell us a little bit? Oops, we got some comments here. Let me take a look here.
Yep.
Oh, there's a comment here from Power BI Storytelling
Mm-hmm.
mentioning try to choose model time package in R. Are you familiar with that package?
Yes, for time series. Yes, yes. Model time decay, and the usual FPP2 and so and some others for forecasting. Yes, they all work fine. I've been using those into Power BI and it works. They work fine. All you have to it completed. Here you go. Hey,
All right.
Adriano, it completed.
There we go.
So remember the last date that we made the forecast was April 1st. See what's the last day now? May 1st. So 30 days ahead of time. So as I said, it's taking longer in my machine, in my system, because I'm sharing the screen using audio and everything, and so it's taking longer. But all I did was going here to the parameter. I just changed the parameter, click OK, refresh the entire model, and the new forecast comes here with the new prediction, and I can see the data dynamically being calculated. Okay, not bad, eh? So that was sorry, Adriano, to keep pinging you back and forth here, but that's actually the end of the presentation. So that was the end of the presentation.
No, that's not a problem. I just, folks, check out the comments. I just added Pablo's website, https://mlbi.io. So check it out. The website you have right there in the comment section. All right, I need just a couple minutes here so I can put it together. The list here for us to do the drawing. And folks, hang on just a second. I am getting through this here real quick. We'll be able to do the drawing here in just a minute. All right. Do you have something else? Let's take a look here. We got, so folks, if you have any questions, do not hesitate. Use the comment section, enter your questions about the presentation, what else you'd like to cover, any things you'd like to share, just like Power BI Storytelling told us about the model time. We have Brent saying, thanks, Pablo. Great presentation. Love the examples. Fatma also saying, thank you, Pablo, and South Florida Power BI user group. Thank you, Fatma. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
And okay, Max has a question.
Sure.
What makes it different to create a report in Power BI using R or Python instead of using native R and Python tools?
Let me see if I understand.
Yeah, so what
What's
is
the
the difference
difference?
here? Yes.
What's the difference to create a report in Power BI using R or Python instead of using the native R or Python tools?
Yes.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying, Max. I get it. I get it. Yes, the reason or the benefit is just the usability. So what you're doing here, when you create and you can perfectly do everything that you do in Power BI. You can do it with R or Python. You can do it perfectly without no problem at all. The benefit of combining R and Python into Power BI is you can add an extra layer of usability to your analysis. You can easily combine DAX and Power Query functions and functionalities combined combined with R or Python scripts and create extra analysis. I mean, can you create in Python, for example, this measure to calculate the variance of point against the same point 1 year ago? Of course you can. Of course you can. The point is that doing it with DAX is a lot faster and easier than doing it with Python or R. You can do it, but it's easier here. So it's a matter of usability. There are many people, and there are many users of Power BI that usually see the tool of Power BI as a tool for reporting and business intelligence. With this interaction of R and Python into Power BI, you can now turn Power BI into a tool for data science with limitations. It's not like using Jupyter Notebook or RStudio or PyCharm or any other distribution. It's not the same, but you can extend your capabilities and you can extend your capabilities from reporting just to see what happened in the past towards what can happen in the future in the same tool in Power BI. So that's usability is the answer, basically.
All right, great questions. And folks, remember, enter your questions on the comment section here so we can get it addressed here for you. And can you tell us a little bit about your book here, Pablo, please?
Yes, my book. Let me just show you. I think it's not easier if I show you a little bit. Let me just show you a description of the book. One second. I am opening the online version of the book. My book, as I said at the beginning, it was inspired after I read the book from Ryan Wade. Okay, so Advanced Analytics in Power BI with R and Python. I read that book and I found many great things. Obviously, in Power BI, I work with Power BI a lot. But I just thought, okay, it was difficult for me to find content about machine learning and predictive analytics in Power BI. I mean, more extended. So how to do, for example, not only time series as we did today. So we can actually do visualization, of course, but we can do also regression analysis, multiple type of regression analysis, clustering analysis, anomaly detection with Python, with R. If I have a model in R, how can I make that model embed into my Power BI model, which I'm reporting now historical data? How can I create new forecast data if I have a predictive model in R? So as you can see here, I have a chapter dedicated on how to put a predictive model in R in production using Power BI. How to use neural network in Power BI. That's not so easy. I'm actually not available. I mean, unless you want to use Azure Cognitive Services or Azure Machine Learning, which you need extra licenses. So you also can do a classification analysis, market basket analysis, combining Python into Power BI. You can do, and you have in this book you have 87 algorithms and more than 50 business cases end to end explained. So I wanted this book for an audience that is not technical in machine learning. This is not a book about machine learning. This is a book of how to use R and Python into Power BI. You don't need to be an expert in machine learning. I always like to use the same example. So if you think about, most of us has a driving license. I'm sure you do have. I do have it. We can all drive cars, but have you ever realized how many pieces every car contains? And so if you can actually ask Google but it has about 30 to 35,000 pieces. Okay, scrolls, pieces, the wheels, everything. 30,000 pieces, but you can think, okay, if I'm able to manage a internal combustion engine machine, which is composed by 30,000 pieces, I should be a mechanical engineer. Well, I am not a mechanical engineer, and I drive a car. Okay, so why can I drive a car even if I am not a mechanical engineer? Well, because I know all the inputs, I know the main objective for the usage of the car, which is taking me from point A to point B, and I know the output. So that's what I'm doing. Well, I'm using the same methodology here in this book. So this book, I like to call it, is a book for everybody. So I like to call, and I put it on my first page for everybody. Okay, so everybody, even if you don't know about anything about R or Python, if you don't know about coding, if you don't know about machine learning, predictive analytics, statistical models, applied statistics, or anything like that, this book is also for you. You can do it. And I'm explaining in so level of detail that anybody can do it. Anybody, literally anybody. So you can do how to put models in production. And when I mean in production, I mean creating a real app in Power BI using Python or R. How to do NLP, natural language processing, using Python, which in this case I'm using Python. Regression, classification, how to do validation of results. How do you know if your model is right or wrong, or is a good model or not a good model? You can actually do it in Power BI. Run a model and then score it and check it out. And many other things, diagrams, how to put a model in production, and then a few other additional materials about it. So this book is intended for any Power BI user that has no idea about machine learning, predictive analytics, and wants to do the next step. Actually, you can import a lot of data from multiple sources that today Power BI has not any connector. For example, you can import data from SPSS, Stata, or SAS. How to import a zip file without even decompressing. There are many tools out there that produces a bunch of data that is compressed. It's a lot of flat files and CSV files compressed. So decompressing everything, storing it requires a lot of time, memory, etc., etc., etc. So you can actually import zip files into Power BI without even decompressing before that. Something that today with Power BI you cannot do it. Now you can import data from Google Drive. But until 2 months ago or 3 months ago, you couldn't do it. Now, if you know how to use R or Python, you can actually do it. So this is a very cool thing. Or how do you ever think that Power BI you cannot write back your data in a data table or in a database? You can actually write data in a data table in a database. Sorry, using R or Python. I show you how to do it and how to create custom queries and write data into a database. This is very cool. So all of that is here. All of that is here in this.
That's awesome. That those how can I say, undocumented features, let's say that, or less known features.
Lesser known features. Yes, that's the right wording. Yes, for sure.
That's very cool. That's very cool. All right, let me get the wheel of names here to spin, and that will be for the drawing of the book. As I said, folks, if you're here right now with us, we're gonna run the wheel, and that is for those who have entered their name to the drawing. Now, if you missed you didn't enter your name, or you were late when submitting your name, drop a comment. We'll add your name to next week group, or I'm not sorry, not next week, next event on February 23rd, when we're going to have another live drawing here for one more book here from Pablo. And today we are going to do 3 books.
It's going to be just to clarify, it's going to be an ebook, okay? And an ebook is not a PDF. It's an online flipbook style that you can open in any device like this. Okay, and you
Hold
can
on a
view, you
second.
can zoom it, you can create notes, you can do whatever you want. So, but it's not a PDF version of the book. It's an online flipbook version like this. Okay, so like this, you can view it in your tablet, in your computer, in your phone, in whatever device you want. You can, and you have a lot of features here already. Okay? So just to clarify, it's not a paperback copy of the book. It's an online flip book what we're going to be giving.
Awesome. So change this. All right, folks, let's do the drawing here. Let's spin the wheel, and we have all the names. We had actually, let me show you this. The word, boom. The winner is Guillermo. Congratulations
Guillermo,
there,
okay,
Guillermo.
excellent.
We're gonna remove you here, and let me enter the. Gotta keep that. Next. All right, Kriparam. Hope I pronounce your name correctly here. You are the number 2 winner here, and congratulations there.
Congratulations.
Remove in the. All right, Mojgan. Hope I'm pronounced correctly here. Mojgan, congratulations there on winning.
Fantastic.
All right, hang on a second. We have a question here. We have a question from Tech Tech Yogi asking. So does it mean it automatically updated when for the versions and everything, auto updates? And then says yes,
Yes,
yes.
exactly.
All
Exactly. I
right.
maintain I maintain the ebooks, and of course every new discovery that I make, every new package that I find interesting or anything like that, I try to write it. Obviously, the book was launched just 6 months ago, but I'm now researching about new techniques and new things and new packages and new stuff, which I am going to be maintaining and documenting, and it has no expiration date, so it's going to be permanently available there. If something new comes up, I think I have the obligation, or at least the moral obligation, to keep the content properly updated. So yes.
All right. Always fresh, always new content there for you folks. Very exciting. We just covered 3 books here. Let's see if somebody else can be interested here. Drop a entry here on the live chat. Can we do another book here, Pablo? What do you think? One more?
Let's go for one more. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, let's
One
go for it.
more, one more.
One more.
Anybody else? I see Gija saying yes.
One more.
Uh,
Okay. Okay. One more.
you know. So just one more moment here, folks. And remember, drop a comment, like, share, subscribe to the channel, folks. Continue to support here the channel, the community, and all. All right, let's do one more there on Gigi's behalf here for asking. And here we are spinning. The winner is. All right, Miriam.
Okay.
You won the 4th book here. Now, folks, if you're not one of the winners, remember just come over here and drop a comment on the comment section below. We will be doing another drawing February 23rd. We're going to take one more book. Would that be okay, Pablo? Next week. I'm talking about February 23rd now.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay. Yeah, no
February
problem. No
23rd, folks.
problem.
Just remember here. And also, now, if you're interested and you can't wait until then, where can they get the book, Pablo?
They can all go to the website that was mentioned in the chat, mlbi.io, mlbi.io, and they can find the book there in English, in Spanish. Very soon, next month or so, it will be released in Portuguese as well. And you can find, yeah, they are in Portuguese. Hopefully for next week, next month, sorry. They can find the book paperback. It can be distributed to anywhere in the world. There are some other books in Spanish. My content is mostly in Spanish about data flows, about Power BI, Excel, and so forth. But the only one that has versions in English and Portuguese is the book that we're talking about, which is Machine Learning in Power BI with R and Python. If you go there, just click on there on the English paperback, please, where you were there
All right.
exactly. The price of the book was $47.05. I'm adding a discount, so right now it's $41.40 plus shipping. The shipping, depending on where it goes, can go from somewhere between $9 up to, if you want ultra super fast, up to $30, $40, something crazy like that. But as we are here, I am going to share. If you're interested in buying the the paperback hard copy, I am going to give you a coupon that you can enter when you go to the shopping cart here. That will give you an extra 15% discount. Okay, so just on
Wow.
top of the $41.40 that you can see there. So let me just drop the coupon code here on the chat, which is this. Welcome 15. There you
All
go.
right, folks. You just got a 15% discount just for attending here,
Yep.
watching. In addition to all the books that we're drawing, in addition to the drawing on February 23rd, go out there, support, get the book here, and there we go. Pablo just dropped in the live chat the coupon. So awesome. Thank you very much, Pablo.
My pleasure. Pleasure is absolutely mine. Yep.
So, folks, do not hesitate here. You have a great chance to opportunity to increase and broaden your knowledge and deepen your knowledge with Power BI, Python, R, machine learning, and a lot more. So you can add your skill sets here. Uh, any any final words here, Pablo?
No, final word. Enjoy what you do. If it's with data, even more. Enjoy more. and and have fun. So that's the main thing. That's the main thing. So I learned this lesson the hard way. So after fighting a lot in my life, thinking that I wanted to do many things, and I discovered that I'm super happy when I'm doing what I love, which is working with data and adding intelligence with data. So I love it. So I always tell the same people the same thing. So everybody the same thing. So you do what you love, and if it's with data, even more.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'd like to remind everyone to support the group, like, subscribe, click the bell, stay tuned, and a quick reminder as well to what's coming up next week. Power BI deployment pipeline. I'm sorry, what's coming up on February 23rd. Correction here. February 23rd. Power BI deployment pipelines with Yogendra. Remember to check it out. And between now and our next presentation, don't forget to drop, make a comment. You like the presentation, let us know below. We'll take your name here, get into the drawing for February 23rd. And I hope you all had a great opportunity to learn. Thank you very much there, Pablo, for making the
My
time to be here with us.
My pleasure, my friend. Thank you for inviting me, and always welcome.
Thank you, everybody out there in the audience who is watching us either live and or after the presentation for being here with us. And we will see you all on February 23rd. Have a great one.
Thank you very much.
But just hang on a second there, Pablo.
Yeah.
But everybody else, I'll see you all.
Thank you.